Week 3 with braces, and I'm already noticing feeling a lot better than I did in the first 2 weeks of it. My teeth aren't as sensitive to things that I'm biting down with anymore, but at the same time, because I've kind of had to change my diet, I've actually been feeling a lot better. I'm noticing my mood in the morning is much more, I don't want to say positive, it's just not as negative, if that makes sense. It's not that, yes, I think this day is going to be a great day. It's much more so like, I know I can tolerate today and I'm not dreading the things that are coming up towards it. If there is anything that kind of stresses me out in the past, it would have really kind of lived in my head much longer than it does now. And I think a lot of that has to do with just knowing the foods that are going inside my body. There's been obviously a lot of research out there on, eating whole foods, more of a vegetarian diet, a plant-based diet tends to just make you feel better overall, obviously for your body, but also for your mind. So I've been reading a book. I might have mentioned it last week. I can't remember. Yeah, Dr. Greger. Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, he calls it. And the Daily Dozen is essentially his guidelines for the things that you should be putting into your body to give your body, the best chance of fighting off everything that could be doing harm to you. So again, this isn't something that I'm kind of saying, yes, I'm going to be making this staple for the rest of my life. This is more of an adaptation that I've chosen to put in because I simply can't eat, a lot of the other things that I normally can eat. So with this and following the Daily Dozen, what I've been doing a lot is sticking into this blender a lot of fruit. For this thing, I put in a whole apple. I also put in a half cup of oats, things that you make with oatmeal. I haven't done that before, so this is the first time I'm doing it, and it doesn't taste too bad. I mean, combined with everything else in here, I think there's a whole banana in here. I put in a handful of spinach, 2 tablespoons of almond butter, a tablespoon of flaxseed meal, which is just ground flax seeds, a teaspoon of matcha, the whole green tea leaf that's ground up, and then some water. And then I kind of blended that up, and then I made sure I had enough space. I put in a few more frozen berries in there. And yeah, surprisingly, you would think that like things like the oats or even the almond butter would give it a very funky taste, but it's not as bad of a taste as I would have initially thought. Plus, on top of that, for the past 2 weeks, I've been altering my diet because of the things I can eat. I haven't been really eating as much sugar and as much salt. And when you do that, your taste buds actually change a bit. It dampens, or not dampens, but it intensifies your receptors for salt. So the things that you taste salt naturally in the foods that you eat are going to be more amplified. So it becomes much more palatable as opposed to if I had gotten to this straight from the typical American diet of eating fast foods or quick foods, processed foods, probably would not be tasting just as good. My mood's been much, much better. I think this is going to be a much easier process than I thought it would be leading up to the ultimate surgery that I'm going to be having, in about a year from now or close to 11 months. And with me saying that, it's making it more real than I thought it would be. A little bit scary, but, I guess I'm not too worried about it. It is a thing that's going to happen. I signed up for it and I'm going to go through with it. I know there's thousands of people that have gone through a surgery like this and have come out very well at the end. It kind of goes into, more of this reading that I'm doing, this idea of tolerating the distress that we have to endure in life, the things that kind of come up and the things that we accept to challenge ourselves or to improve our lives in a certain way. Part of that, when I'm talking about Forged in Darkness, that book I'm reading, they talk about the death and rebirth thing that we kind of go through where we descend into the underworld, we take on the challenges before us, and then we come back in a rebirth as a new self with new things that we've learned along the way, and we start to implement those in our lives. And we're essentially going through this cycle, we're constantly going through this death and then this rebirth and then another death and then another rebirth. It's essentially another challenge in life. And then we're coming out of that challenge a new person. And when we're coming out a new person, we're accepting a new reality that we're entering. There's new things that we're recognizing and we're adopting to and we're not resisting so much to. Like, for instance, I've been learning Japanese off and on for, the past 18, 20 years of my life, and I'm still very terrible at it. I tried taking one of the proficiency tests recently and I still failed. And it's kind of embarrassing to, even accept to myself, but even talk about it on camera. But I've been trying to apply the cycle to that process, because one of the terrifying things is really listening to Japanese, trying to understand everything that I'm listening to. And I'm starting to accept the fact that I'm not going to be able to understand everything. I may not understand most of the things that I'm hearing. And once I start accepting that, I'm starting to understand that this is kind of the world that I'm entering. I'm entering a reality where I'm going to be listening to thousands of words, possibly throughout the day, that I will not understand. And that's just kind of the process. It's the same way that kids kind of grow up. Kids, when they're learning English, they don't understand. I should clarify, kids that are learning their first language, they don't inherently understand everything, in their life. It's all gibberish to them. But they're slowly picking up. This means mama. This means dada. This means I want to eat. This means, I want that toy. They are slowly ascribing certain meanings to the things that they want to interact with in life. All that to say is, by accepting the distress that's going to come and by accepting the uncomfortability that comes with challenges in my life, lately I am noticing that I am just much more positive. I have a much more optimistic outlook on life, if that clarifies things. I'm not so pessimistic. I'm not so ruminating in my head. I was even going back to, one of my books on trauma therapy, when we do trauma therapy with clients. And the book itself essentially explains that the part of trauma therapy is that we help bring meaning to the experience that the client comes to. Now, again, if you've gone through trauma, you should be going through this with a trained professional as opposed to just trying to do this yourself, unless you feel, comfortable doing this yourself. But we're supposed to slowly reintroduce the experience to the client after they feel safe. One of the main tenets of trauma therapy is that we want to make sure the client feels safe enough to dive into their experience bit by bit. And by doing that, we are exposing us to the stressful experience. It's the same way that EMDR works. It's the same way that exposure therapy works. When we expose someone with generalized anxiety or social anxiety, the darkness and the scary things have to be engaged in order for us to grow, in order for us to change outside of who we are today to a person we want to be tomorrow. We have to change, and there comes growth in that, and that growth comes discomfort. And the sooner we learn to accept that and engage with it, I think the quicker we are to adapting, and the quicker we are to learning the new skills that we need to learn. So I guess that's it this week. It's been a really good week. I guess this is going to be a shorter video. Next week I'll try to, plan things out a bit better. I'm still trying to work on this nonchalantness, this improvisation, this unscriptedness, talking on the camera, and learning to be more okay with it. But if this engages with you, let me know in the comments below. Follow me, just so I know that this is something that resonates with you. And let me know if there's a future topic you want me to kind of go on. Thanks again for watching. And if you watched the other two videos, then I appreciate your support. All right. Take care.